Could we see some extensions coming for these three players on the Vikings roster? Christian Darrisaw, Cameron Bynum, and Josh Metellus. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Now, before we dive into today's show, I want to have some fun to kick it off. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. What player made you fall in love with the Minnesota Vikings? For me personally, it was Adrian Peterson. I was around 9, 10 years old when he was really hitting his prime, and just watching him run the football, run players over, run past players. He was honestly one of the most fun players I've ever watched in NFL history. But hey, you guys let me know, what player made you fall in love with your Minnesota Vikings? So if I had to call the next big move for Minnesota, it's probably extending Christian Darrisaw. Now on today's show, we're going to be diving into those three players that I teased on the top. This was coming in from an Alec Lewis article. He works for The Athletic, covers the Minnesota Vikings, does a fantastic job, and he was just going over the pros and cons of extending a bunch of different Vikings players. So I wanted to focus in on three players specifically, and the first one being Christian Darrisaw. And I do think it's key to note, Darrisaw did switch his agent to Drew Rosenhaus. Rosenhaus has gotten countless deals done with the Minnesota Vikings over the past couple of years, and actually a couple extensions specifically over the last 2 seasons. And, Darrisaw is going to be in line to get a big-time pay bump. And, he is one of the best left tackles in the National Football League. This past season was, considered a down year for his standard, but he was still great. I mean, one of the best pass-blocking grades in the entire NFL at 85.3. Still solid overall at 82.4. Did allow 6 sacks and 31 pressures, which were the highest in his NFL career, but he was still consistent. He was still dominant at that left tackle spot. And if I'm the Vikings, I'm getting this done as soon as possible. Like, this would be a move where if I'm Kwesi and the rest of the members of this front office and I'm coming into work every day, that is number one on my priority list. How can we extend number 71 and get him locked up for at least the next 4 seasons? Alec Lewis actually dropped a contract projection where he said he thinks the Vikings could sign him for a 4-year, $87 million deal. Now, would Darrisaw accept that? Really, who knows on that standpoint, but he deserves that. And, I think it's going to come down to, will Darrisaw want to be paid a top 5 or top 3 highest paid offensive tackle? If we're taking a look right now, here's how the top 5 does shake out. Penei Sewell of the Detroit Lions did get extended this summer, getting around $28 million per year. But then you got Laremy Tunsil, Andrew Thomas, Trent Williams, Jordan Mailata. Like, the Darrisaw is probably going to want around the $22 to $23 million range. Don't know if he'll, go for it and try to get $30 million per year and top Penei Sewell, but, we'll have to wait and see. Now, Alec Lewis did go back and forth and say, why the Vikings should extend Christian Darrisaw, but he also said why they may not. And I thought this was very, very interesting. He said, Adofo-Mensah has said frequently that extensions after 3 seasons are hard to complete. The team and player have to sort through the 2 remaining seasons of the contract, and there remains significant room for each side to benefit or lose depending on the structure of the deal. The Vikings could also be cautious given Darrisaw's injury history. He suffered 2 concussions in 2022. Ankle and groin injuries have also hampered his availability. Whether Darrisaw inks an extension or not may depend on his willingness to wait. Last year, Jefferson accepted some risks, and he benefited immensely. Now, if I'm Christian Darrisaw, I'm waiting until next offseason to get paid. With the salary cap continuously, jumping up in the NFL, if I were him, I would just wait till it goes up again, and then you're probably going to get more money. But if I'm the Vikings, I'm trying to get this done right now because you got a guy like Rashawn Slater of the Los Angeles Chargers. He is going to get a mega deal. I think he is the one offensive tackle out there that could actually compete as the highest paid one in the entire NFL. Not sure if the Chargers would offer up $30 million, but with Jim Harbaugh and what he likes to do and how much he values offensive linemen, I could see that easily being the case. Now, for Christian Darrisaw, it's just going to come down to if he wants to, roll the die a little bit and then, play this season and have an all-pro level year, and then maybe he is saying, hey, I deserve to get paid like the highest paid left tackle, or he could go the safe route and get extended this summer, and maybe it is, like Alec Lewis said, a 4-year, $87 million deal. But you guys let me know, how much per year would you pay Christian Darrisaw? If I had to answer that, I'd probably go around $23 million as it stands right now. But hey, if he has another great year and he's the best left tackle in the league, don't be shocked if he does get around $28, $29 million. Now, coming up next, we're going to be talking about Cameron Bynum, as an extension could be coming for the former cornerback at California, but then he did switch to safety this past season, and he's been awesome for the Minnesota Vikings. I remember when back in his rookie year when he was just a rotational guy, and he would step in and he would just absolutely kill it in his limited reps, and then finally this past season as being a full-time starter for the safety group, he had his best year of his NFL career. And the thing I love the most about him, and why, honestly, I love most of the Viking safeties, is how versatile they are. I mean, this stat right here of 9 forced fumbles, 9 PBUs, 2 interceptions is insane for a safety, and PFF graded him out pretty well as well at a 73.2 and a 69.7 coverage grade. And, talking about scheme fit a lot on this channel because Brian Flores runs such a unique defense where he is, blitzing the quarterback like crazy. He's asking the safeties to run a number of different positions. Well, Cam Bynum is absolutely a perfect scheme fit for Brian Flores. And if Brian Flores is going to be the defensive coordinator for the next couple of seasons in Minnesota, Cam Bynum has more value with the Vikings than in comparison to another team. Alec Lewis also dropped a contract projection for Bynum, saying he could sign around a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. Now, I thought that was on the low end when I saw this contract projection coming in from Alec Lewis, but, maybe Cam Bynum would want to take a team-friendly deal, and I'll talk about that here a little bit more in a second. But Alec Lewis was kind of going over the negatives of extending Cam Bynum, and this is what he had to say. He said Bynum, who will turn 26 in July, has a cap hit this season of about $3.3 million. He might not be as versatile as Metellus, but depth is essential, and even though the Vikings have Theo Jackson and Jay Ward waiting in the wings, neither is as well versed in Flores' system as Bynum. He also won't break the bank. Last year, Metellus signed a 2-year deal with $6 million in guaranteed money. Earlier this offseason, the Denver Broncos signed 26-year-old Brandon Jones to a 3-year deal worth $12.5 million in guaranteed. Bynum's value likely lies somewhere in the middle. And, Cam Bynum's not going to break the bank and become one of the highest paid safeties in the NFL. But, here is the current list as it stands right now. Antoine Winfield making $20+ million. Derwin James, 19. Minka, 18. Xavier McKinney just signed a deal with the Packers this offseason, making around $17 million per year. Jesse Bates got the bag last offseason. Kyle Duggar of the Patriots, Budda Baker, Marcus Williams, Grant Delpit, and then Jalen Thompson, also of the Arizona Cardinals. And the thing is with Cam Bynum, the way he talks about Minnesota, the way he talks about this football team, and just, the overall city, he is in love with the Minnesota Vikings, and he is in love with the city of Minneapolis. And I could see Cam Bynum signing a team-friendly deal where I could see him, instead of taking the maybe I could get more money on a shorter-term deal. I think he would rather prefer the long-term stability, and maybe he ends up signing a 4-year, let's just say $30 million deal, and I think that would be a good price for the safety. And listen, this Viking safety room is extremely, extremely underrated. Like, you have legitimately 3 of the top safeties in the entire NFL. Harrison Smith, he is still beating Father Time, even though he still lost a step. He is still extremely, extremely productive. Cam Bynum, we know what he's all about. We'll talk about Josh Metellus here in a second. But even the guys behind him, like Theo Jackson is a young and up-and-coming guy who I think is going to make a name for himself in the league here shortly. Jay Ward out of LSU, our third-round draft pick from last season. He's a great in spot reps. And then, if we ever get something out of Lewis Cine, then the Vikings will have another first-round pick and another top-end talent in this safety department. But you guys let me know. Grade the safety room for me in Minnesota. If you guys could give me an A, B, C, D, or F. If I had to call it, I'd probably give it an A-. Maybe don't have that top guy like a Derwin James or Antoine Winfield, but in terms of depth and just overall production, I don't think there might be a better one in the NFL. But hey, you guys let me know. Now, another player that could get extended, Josh Metellus, who actually did get an extension last offseason, but he is eligible again, and I could see the Vikings trying to get this deal done here early. But for the 5'11" safety out of Michigan, he was fantastic this past year, man. I mean, the fact that I get to choose sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, and PBUs for a safety as the stats I want to show speaks to his versatility, speaks to how dominant he is, and he had a great year. Playing in all 17 games, had 2.5 sacks from the safety spot, which is great. four forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 5 PBUs, and had over 115 tackles as well. But Alec Lewis wrote this up on the Vikings safety, saying Metellus is under contract through 2025. That's the result of his extension signed last year during training camp, which came before he played more than 1,000 defensive snaps. Metellus is a perfect player for Flores. He can play as a deep half safety. He can defend slot receivers. He can even play off-ball linebacker. He tallied 26 pressures as a pass rusher last season, according to PFF. He is a 26-year-old captain who loves Minnesota and figures to be a defensive staple for years to come, especially once Harrison Smith hangs up his cleats. Why not commit further down the road than just the year 2025? And the contract projection Alec wrote up was a 3-year, $12.5 million deal. Hey, if that was the deal that Metellus did sign, I would be absolutely thrilled about that. And if I had to pick one to extend for the Minnesota Vikings, I would probably pick Metellus over Cam Bynum. Love Cam Bynum. He's a great scheme fit for Flores as well. But everything we talk about Bynum and how great he is with this Vikings defense specifically, Josh Metellus is that and even more. And, I don't think this is a hot take. When I was just, today just going through like the depth charts on the Vikings defense, just really thinking about, how much talent they do have on that side of the football, I don't think it's a hot take to say the Vikings will have a top 10 defense last season. And I think that, speaks a lot considering where we were 2 years ago in that wild card round versus the New York Giants. And the defense was terrible, ranked last in every statistical category out there. And now, year 2 under Brian Flores, I think they're really setting themselves up to be one of the top defenses in the entire NFL. But you guys let me know. We'll close today's show with this. Will the Vikings have a top 10 defense next season? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comment section. Curious to see what you guys have to say. And as always, you guys can give me a follow on Twitter. The handle is @PatSeeps. Put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching today's program. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes.